Well, hello everyone. Thanks very much for joining us. I have LSuperSonicQ with us, who is specialized in lost media, especially those good old 2000s cartoons. Hi there. Could you tell us a few words about yourself?
Yeah, hey guys. So I'm LSuperSonicQ and I'm a content creator here on YouTube and I create lost media videos that try and uncover and archive cartoons and video games and things of the past, more or less.
Oh, and your YouTube voice is amazing. I'm yet to develop that one. That's great. So tell us about the meaning behind, well, really your subject choices. Clearly, you're concentrating on the 2000s. So what is the sentimental value of lost media for you?
So I think a lot of the sentimental value of lost media and a lot of the reason why people in general, I think, are interested in it is for that nostalgia. With me, I primarily tend to focus on cartoon lost media and video game lost media from my childhood, more or less. Stuff that I used to watch on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon from back in the day, in video games I used to play growing up, because I have that kind of attachment to those kinds of cartoons and that stuff that used to play such a big role in my life, and it still does. I really want to uncover the bits of it that I never got to see or that I never got to play. So when it comes to finding lost pilots to TV shows, as a kid, you watch SpongeBob on TV, but you've never seen the SpongeBob pilot, before the show hit the air. And when it comes to finding stuff, I want to find that. I want to get that little piece of nostalgia unearthed for myself and for, everyone else who's a fan of SpongeBob and Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and all that kind of stuff, all wrapped up into one.
We all know those raw pilots. It's almost like the subconscious dark version of the original show. So some people might say, oh, you're stuck in the past. What would you say to that?
I would say that liking old things is a good thing. It's a really good thing, I think, because a lot of people, I've seen this kind of sentiment that oh, people are too blinded by nostalgia, or you got to move on from, the past. All the time with Cartoon Network, for example, you always hear people kind of complain about the new cartoons and they like the old cartoons, but then people saying, well, you can't like the old cartoons, you gotta like the new cartoons too. But there's nothing wrong with liking the old stuff. And I think, kind of going back to the nostalgia is what fuels people, what gives them their motivation. And I definitely wouldn't have found my place with lost media and doing all that kind of stuff if it wasn't for that nostalgia, because the new cartoons and stuff, they might be great, I enjoy some of them, but there's nothing really mysterious or maybe interesting about them because they're so new. They haven't had that time to develop into their own identities yet. Whereas the older stuff, we know they're classics, we know kind of how they were made and they're classics. And I think through that connection, it's good to like the past, especially in knowing where we've come from with the new cartoons and where we're going in the future with them, because everything had to start from somewhere. And those 90s Cartoon Network shows, the 90s Nickelodeon shows, those were the base for what we're seeing now. So I think it's a good thing to like old stuff.
Absolutely. And you don't see creepypastas being written about today's shows. They don't have that old flavor to them yet. So what's your motivator? Obviously, you have a very rich channel. There are loads of videos. You were doing it for a while now. What's your motivation behind it? What keeps you going?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of the motivation is almost like a self-challenge. And I think that's one of my personal biggest appeals with lost media, why it appeals to me so greatly, is that challenge, with the lost pilots and stuff, just because the lost pilots everyone wants to find the lost pilots. It's there's a lost pilot to this show. Can you get it unearthed? And I ask myself that question. I say, yes, I'm going to try my hardest to get this unearthed, because it's, again, almost like a self-challenge. But not only that, when you do release that kind of stuff, or when you get stuff unearthed, when I found the Kappa Mikey pilot, right? The original, so for Kappa Mikey, it was a Nicktoons show, but the original pilot was more adult oriented and it was originally pitched to MTV. So it was quite different than what we ended up getting. And a lot of people remembered watching Kappa Mikey as a kid. A lot of people they had watched it and forgot it existed. Then once I started talking about it, they remembered it. Oh, Kappa Mikey, I remember that show. And I do too. I remember watching it as a kid, even though I hadn't thought about it in years until I started the search. But then once I did, I thought, oh, Kappa Mikey, what an old classic show. So getting that unearthed and showing it to everyone, it gets everyone excited. And that's a really good thing, that this old piece of media can become new again. and people can get excited and, you know, reminisce about, again, all that stuff they didn't see, you know, on Nickelodeon. I think, kind of to put it more generally, for myself, it's a challenge, and so others can be happy that this little piece of their childhood was unearthed. It also makes it all worthwhile. Like the big kind of community effort, I guess, all together.
It is so easy to oversee this medium, so I think you've chosen an excellent niche because there are so many Easter eggs that no one bothered to find, and then you're there to find it. Can I ask, where did it all start? Maybe you're fanning over these cartoons, yes, but also the videos as well.
Yeah, so this is a good story. I always like telling this story about the whole like interest in lost media and where that came from. So the Lost Media Wiki itself, I believe, was founded in 2012, which was kind of a long time ago, but I actually didn't even know it existed in 2012. I didn't know it existed until a few years later. It was 2015, and I was on YouTube, and I don't even know what I was watching or why this came up, but there's another Lost Media YouTuber. He does Lost Media videos. His name is Blame It on Jorge, and he made a video called like top 40 lost or banned episodes of kids cartoons. And again, going back to the nostalgia, I was like, oh, like kids cartoons, like stuff I watched as a kid, what was lost or banned about that? Like, what does that mean? So I watched that video, and it really opened my eyes to what lost media was to begin with, because I didn't know what it was at that point. And that video explained why certain episodes of kids cartoons that we had watched as kids were banned and never shown on TV after their initial airing, or how some episodes or some series altogether were canceled and never re-uploaded online. It was that video specifically that really made me think like, wow, I didn't know this was a thing. And I like instantly became interested in the whole subculture surrounding it. And specifically, the one cartoon he talks about in the video that really, really pulled me into lost media was Kablam. Kablam was like a Nickelodeon cartoon variety show from the 90s. And I had seen it as a kid, but you know, I hadn't really thought about it in years. But the part in the video that he mentioned, he said that there was an episode of Kablam that people didn't know if it existed or not. It was like this rumored episode. And I was thinking, how can someone not know if an episode exists? Like, what, like that doesn't even, it was so hard to comprehend. And I thought, like, I gotta research this. I gotta know if this exists or not. Like, my mind was blown. And from that point, that was actually my first lost media search. I set out to find whether or not this episode existed, that apparently no one could prove up to that point whether or not it existed. And throughout my research, I talked to some Kablam fans and some old Nickelodeon fans. I went to some fan sites, and all together, we ultimately ended up proving that the episode was not real at all, and we put the rumor to rest, which was really, really cool. At the time, it was kind of my first big search and everything, and it was really cool seeing it all come together, but it all came from Kablam and from that Blame It on Jorge video, which just showed up in my feed one day for some reason, and the rest is history.
You already mentioned this one cartoon in particular, but I'm just going to ask you again, what are your favorite cartoons right now?
Yeah, so this is a good question, because like I feel like it also plays into the whole nostalgia thing, because a lot of new cartoons, I don't really like. I guess I just don't really watch a whole lot of like current day cartoons really. I know the Animaniacs were rebooted, and I actually watched a little bit of that, and it was pretty good. But as for like modern day Cartoon Network stuff, I'm not really watching a whole lot of that. But what I would say, stuff I can go back to time and time again, my favorites of the bunch, Chowder from Cartoon Network has always been one of my favorite cartoons. Like, I just thought the writing in it was so good. The comedy was really smart and funny. The characters were so unique, like Mung Daal. Like, who doesn't like Mung Daal? He was such a great character. And the voice actors and just everything about the show, the whole package, it was like a perfect Cartoon Network show. And it came out right around the time that when the channel wasn't doing that good, because they had their CN Real initiative with all the live action. So like people didn't really like Cartoon Network during that era, but Chowder was like one of its like saving graces. Like, I would watch the channel for Chowder. It was that good. So that's always been one of my favorites. Kappa Mikey as well. I did watch it back in the day a little bit. I wasn't as big of a fan of it back in the day as I am now, because the whole premise of Kappa Mikey is it's kind of like a parody on anime, more or less. And I didn't really watch anime back in the day, so I didn't quite understand it. But like nowadays, when I watch it, looking back, oh, it's really funny, because there are a lot of like funny cliches and funny like little visual quirks and stuff that happen in the show that makes it really enjoyable. So Chowder and Cap Monkey for sure. Johnny Bravo as well. I know that goes back even further than Cap Monkey and Chowder, but Johnny Bravo, Johnny Bravo was so good. And like, see, Johnny Bravo specifically is one of those shows where you can watch it as a kid and it's just like it's a funny Elvis looking guy doing funny stuff, right? But then you go back and watch it as an adult, and there's so many like hidden messages and subliminal messages and stuff that like you miss as a kid. And now when you go back and watch it, you're like, oh man, how'd they get away with that on TV? And that almost makes it like even more fun nowadays to go back and watch that kind of thing. So I've always liked Johnny Bravo though. He's a really cool dude. But I would say probably those are my top three: Chowder, Kappa Mikey, and Johnny Bravo. Those are probably among like my best of the best cartoons.
So glad you said Chowder. I'm religiously fond of Chowder. Maybe besides Avatar: The Last Airbender. So clearly you were a child once, and you were most likely seeing these shows as a child. What's your relationship like with your childhood self, especially that you're dealing so much with the past?
I think a good way to put it is I almost feel like I never even grew up. Like I still love cartoons, I still play video games, I still do all the same stuff I did pretty much when I was a kid, just it's kind of a little different now because I'm older. But yeah, no, I still like doing a bunch of fun stuff like that. I don't like take things seriously at all, really. It's just all about like having a good time pretty much. And I think even like my videos on my channel kind of put forth that as well. Like I know a lot of Lost Media channels, they'll kind of take the more spooky approach to their videos and they kind of make it more of like a serious thing. But like when I started doing Lost Media videos, I purposely didn't want to be spooky with it. I wanted it to just be like a fun, like whatever, like, hey, like let's just like talk about some Lost Media. And I think I've achieved that with my videos. And even like when I do live streams with my viewers and stuff, it's not like this I know other content creators and stuff, their setup is a little more, I guess, set in stone. They'll either be playing a game and not really like talk to the chat, or they'll be like doing something else. And but my streams, I want to talk to people, I want to just hang out with them, like I want to just have a good time. So I think to that extent, like, yeah, I'm still a big kid when it comes to that stuff. Like I like talking to people, talking to my viewers, really like sharing in, I guess, the love that we have for Lost Media and like the culture surrounding it and stuff. And I think you kind of got to be a big kid to do that, like it's not for everyone, but I think with my attitude anyway towards it, it's just a big fun way to be a big kid, even though I'm not a kid anymore, but I feel like a kid, which is good.
You're very much the same person. Now we do experience nostalgia differently, but is not nostalgia for you by definition sort of painful for you, or is that completely lacking for you? Are you not bitter of the fact that those times have passed by, even those shows?
That's a really good question. I think for the most part, I view nostalgia as a positive thing. Like when I think about those shows and stuff, like, like the Cartoon Network ones, and even the video games I used to play back in the day and stuff, like, I guess to me, there's nothing really stopping me from like continuing to enjoy them and continuing to like play games and stuff. So for that reason, like, I'm totally cool with thinking about, how things were back when I was playing them and stuff. I guess though there is a little bit of maybe bitterness, not a whole lot, but maybe a little bit when you think about maybe where things are going now. Just like, like I used to grow up with Johnny Bravo and Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls and all these what I would consider quality shows. And then you look at like the stuff they're making now and you're thinking like, like the kids these days don't know how good we had it. Like they're watching all these like, like whatever on TV, like what the heck is up with that? Like, so I guess in a way from my millennial perspective, the kids nowadays maybe don't have it as good as I did, but I'm sure when those kids are older, they're gonna look back on the current generation then and think, oh, they didn't have it as good as I did. It's kind of keeps going on, I guess, as time marches on. But for the most part, though, I think nostalgia is a good thing. It's a healthy thing, and I love basking in the glory days, like as much as I can. And if I don't like what's happening currently with like Cartoon Network or whatever kind of pop culture thing it might be, I just tune it out. I just won't watch it. And I'll just kind of, in a healthy way, live in my own bubble and just surround myself with like what I want to be surrounded with. And I think that's an okay way to do things.
It's good that you're a conscious consumer. That's what matters. In Hungary, let me tell you, there is a nighttime tale in the TV. So for a long time, for generations, it was just the same thing. So now with the capitalism intensifying, even those changes between generations are faster. So I totally know what you're talking about. So I did see you mention cartoons and computer games in your channel. I just wanted to ask you, what media do you also concentrate on besides cartoons?
So I guess, well, okay. I know where this is gonna go now. I was gonna say I guess it would just be cartoons and video games, because video games are probably as big of a point in my life as cartoons are. Like, I've been playing video games just as long as I've been watching cartoons and stuff, and I have made quite a few videos on my channel that talk about mysterious things in games, mostly Nintendo games, because I play Nintendo stuff, and Sega too a little bit. But that's kind of what my gaming focus was on my channel. But also another thing too that I think a lot of people maybe don't realize or really think about are collectibles too, like figures and plushes and toys and stuff like that. I've made quite a few videos on my channel that talk about mysterious collectibles and mysterious toys, which again, people might not really like think about. And I know the Lost Media Wiki itself doesn't really see toys as media, and that's fine. I respect that, but I still make the videos for my channel and that kinds of stuff. Some of those topics are some of the most interesting topics that I think I've ever covered on my channel. Like, there's this one, for example, this one company called Kelly Toy, and they've existed as far back as like the early 2000s or the late 90s actually. And I collect Nintendo stuff, Nintendo memorabilia and Mario plushes and stuff like that. And Kelly Toy, back in the day, they made video game plushes. They made Mario ones and Sonic the Hedgehog ones and stuff like that. And it came to my attention as I was talking to some of my collecting friends and stuff. We would find these old Kelly Toy catalog scans online for all their products. And we would see plushes and toys in their catalogs that we've never seen before. They never came out. And as a collector and as someone who, collects that kind of thing, that just makes it so much more interesting to me. Like how have I never seen this product before? Like they were gonna make this and I didn't know about it, and why was it canceled? Why did it never come out? Like, one of the most infamous examples, and I know this kind of gets into the nitty-gritty of collectibles, but so for Sonic the Hedgehog collecting, which again I also collect Sonic stuff, Chow, the Chow character, like they're little like virtual pets. The Chow are like very demanded within the merchandise realm. People love Chow stuff. And Kelly Toy was actually planning on making a Chow plush back in like 2009 or so, but it never came out. And not only was that itself a mystery, but the only picture we ever saw of it was in like a leaked boardroom shot from Kelly Toy's headquarters that someone posted on 4chan, I think. And like, it was just the back of the Chow against a whole wall of other plushes. But that, like, we were consumed with mystery when we saw that, because we didn't know it existed. We didn't know why that one was just in that picture. We didn't know where the picture came from. We didn't know where the actual prototype was. Now we've never found it. We have not sourced where that is. And people got really wrapped up in that mystery. And to this day, people still, like, a lot of my viewers and fans, like, still really think Kelly Toy is a mysterious company and stuff, and they try to find all these prototypes and stuff, and like, that's really cool. Like, I love a good collectible mystery. So stuff like that is also a big focus on my channel and a big kind of interest point, because again, what most people don't realize is that just as cartoons and video games have a history and fan bases and stuff, collectibles do too. There's a lot of collectible mysteries and a lot of collectible lore that I think people don't quite understand. But I guess maybe you got to be into that kind of stuff to really pay attention to it. And I know not everyone likes collecting stuff, so I guess to each their own, but I like it. So
not only what you're describing is super intriguing, it's also sort of heartwarming that there are people out there who you can share this with. I always felt super alone with, like, me loving chowder forever. So clearly you were joining a community when you decided to start self-expressing and such. How was your experience on YouTube so far as the community goes?
So I would say my experience on YouTube, I know life-changing is a pretty big word to use, but I would say it's probably life-changing, because before I was part of the Lost Media community, or before I had my own YouTube community, or before any of that stuff, I just was online. I would go online and just not really do anything. I like look up cheat codes for a video game, and that would be it. Like, it wasn't very fulfilling, I guess maybe is the right word. But then once I started making content, and even before I was doing Lost Media, I did some art, I would do sculptures and I would post my sculptures to my channel. And I had some fans of my sculptures and my artwork. So we had a little art community going on even before Lost Media. So even in that iteration of my channel, like all the people that have like looked at my work and like liked my work and stuff, it's really given me like, I want to say like maybe a goal, something to work towards. I want to provide like good content for these people to enjoy. And when they enjoy it and they say, this is good content, it makes me want to make more. And then like the cycle continues and stuff. So I would say it's only been positive. It's only been good that I've been a part of these communities and that I've grown a fan base and stuff, because like I said, it gives me like meaning and purpose to like be creative. And it lets me put all my like thoughts and passions into like a tangible video that other people who share those interests can watch and relate to. And it's good. That's a good thing. That's better than just like, you know, going online, what I used to do and just look up cheat codes. Nope, that's it. Like, not only just from the whole visual aspect, being an entertainer, but also just, I guess, the people themselves, like being able to actually talk to people about ideas and what we like and what we, you know, all that kind of stuff. And like the Lost Media Wiki, meeting all the Lost Media Wiki people who help run the site, and you know, like being friends with all them and stuff. It's good. Especially like, I don't want to get like too like relevant with the world, but like especially with what's going on in the world right now, like being able to escape to the virtual world is actually a really good thing. It's kind of good that technology has advanced in the way that it has, because like this would have been really hard to do like 10 years ago. But now that we have all the social media and YouTube is like, you know, bigger than ever, and all the, you know, Discord and all the other apps, all the social apps and stuff, it's like a really good thing that people are able to be so connected to each other pretty much at any given time. So yeah, I'm happy for that.
Sounds great. It sounds like you're very understood, even though your interest is very specific. What's the future of your channel? What future do you see?
Well, currently I'm on track to get 100,000 subscribers. So that's the first goal of mine. But after that, assuming I reach 100,000, I think what I'm currently focusing on is trying to grow beyond my current viewer base. Like, as I just said, I love them. I love my viewers. But I think there's always like, you always want to like be bigger than yourself and like reach out to as many people as you can. And I think maybe we're at that point with Lost Media based on the other content creators that have risen up and where I'm seeing where certain things are in the scene right now. I think it's time to maybe kind of step away from more traditional Lost Media, like Lost Pilots, which again I love, and try and reach out to maybe something greater. You know, I don't quite know what that is yet, but like I think there's room to like really expand just the textbook definition of Lost Media and really get more people interested in sort of the subculture as a whole. Like, I know that there's a whole subculture surrounding like abandoned buildings and like abandoned places. Like that's its own subculture, and I like that kind of stuff too. So maybe the next step from here would be crossing Lost Media with abandoned places. You know, like I got to figure out what that is, but maybe that's what the next step is to really branch out beyond. Let me research this Lost Pilot on my computer. So that's where I think the future of Lost Media is going. Or even just, this is kind of like thinking far out, but instead of just emailing someone from Nickelodeon, hey, do you have this pilot? Maybe, again, it's kind of far reaching, but like maybe going to the Nickelodeon studios and like talking to someone or interviewing someone there to get a first-hand on the scene experience about whatever Nickelodeon Lost Media you might be trying to find. Like I hope that that's the direction we go in, because I love researching stuff on the computer, but I think there's like room to grow the scene, and I think maybe that's the way to do it.
You just summed up that feeling when I'm just going to Wikipedia with that exact, you know, notion that I just want some mystery. Come on, just give me some links already. So this is just nosiness, but I'm super interested in, you obviously have this almost fairy tale side to you, that is the YouTube channel. What is your day job like? Like, what is your everyday adult real life like, in a way?
Well, I guess it's mostly like stuff like this, because I guess I do YouTube quote unquote full time. I guess that is like what I consider myself as a YouTuber. So in the context of being a YouTuber, pretty much, I guess I'm still a big kid when it comes to having a job too, because I know that some YouTubers, what I'm trying to say is I know some YouTubers have like a very like rigid schedule. They set time aside to do, you know, videos, blah, blah. For me, in the context of being a YouTuber, I kind of just play video games or watch cartoons, and then when I feel like doing a video, I'll think, you know what, it's time to do a video, and then I'll sit down and get it done. My day-to-day life, I guess, is sort of being that child by watching cartoons or playing video games, which also can give me inspiration for videos as well. So it's not just like totally nonsense, like goofing off. Sometimes I'll play a game or I'll watch a cartoon and it'll give me an inspiration for a video, but it's like keeping with my my cartoons and video game interests, and then sort of like taking that energy and converting it to a video kind of whenever I feel like it. Like, I never really had a set schedule, but I sort of have like these mental notes of like, okay, it's about time to do a video. I should sit down and do it, and then I'll get it done and I'll get it out, and it kind of just, I don't want to say play it by ear, but I kind of just play it by ear, which I guess is the way it goes. But as we've kind of established earlier on in this episode, I think that's okay. Like, I'm cool with just like being laid back and just seeing what happens and just playing it by ear. I guess that's my style, just playing it by ear.
You're very much living the dream. Do you find understanding in the real life as well, as in, do you find people who can relate to your interests just as much as in the digital world?
No, maybe surprisingly no. Whenever I found like someone in like whenever I've tried to explain lost media or being a YouTuber to someone, I guess in real life, they never really quite understand it. And I'm not really saying that's a bad thing though. I think YouTube in itself is still a new medium. I think that like a lot of people don't quite understand what that means to be a YouTuber, and lost media, of course, is kind of a small subculture compared to some of the other things out there. I don't really expect people to really understand that, but I think for the most part, at least where we are currently, being a YouTuber and finding lost media is very much only present online. I just don't really see people talking about it, which, I mean, it would be cool if they did though. And I've done my best to explain it to friends or explain it to people, when I say, this is what I do, this is, I find lost media. And like, some people kind of get it. They kind of understand, what it's about. But for the most part though, like for people to actually have a full grasp of what I mean, it kind of only lives online. Which again, not saying it's a bad thing, but maybe in the future though, it'll become more of a normalized kind of view, I guess.
No, I do recommend staying extraordinary, even if your environment can be quite ordinary at times, and other people too. Anyways, LSuperSonicQ, I would like to thank your time to have this conversation with me, and I'm excited to see what's there to come for your channel. And yeah, just thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. These are always fun because it really gives me like a platform to like very directly like tell my story, I guess, because even with my videos, there's only so much you can say in a script, especially when you're talking about like a specific piece of lost media, right? But with these more like free form style podcasts and shows, and with my live streams too, it like gives me a chance to like openly talk about lost media in a less scripted format. And I also think that's really good too, because it kind of gives you a more personalized side to things instead of just, like reading a wiki article with text, or listening to me talk about one specific topic in one video. Like, this is a lot more like open to discussion, which again is good for the scene, and it's fun, and I think that's what we need going forward.
And yes, your channel is very much dedicated to one thing and one thing only, and that is the craft of lost media. So I think the person behind it deserves just as much recognition. So that's the video, that's the conversation dedicated for. I'm very glad that we could learn about you, and yeah, take care.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.